Which one's idling? Which one's making the idling sound? Both of them? Listen. That's really loud. Rev it. What's going on? Are we having a rev battle right now?
We're having a rev battle. We are synthesizing the loudest, I don't know what you would call that. It's a burble, isn't it, of sorts. It's our synthetic engine noise that we're running on the car. So you can actually see.
Yeah, it sounds like I don't know what to say. I can't really quite put my finger on what it sounds like.
So once it's going, it sounds more like, it's going to sound weird, a Cosworth DFV.
Okay.
Because there's a synthesized 4-cylinder sound, but we're running at single speed, so the engine like revs out to 18, 19, 20 grand. So if you divide that by 2, that's like 8 or 9, 10 grand of a V8, which is, does that make sense?
You're not shifting or anything?
No, the shifting, on these cars, the shifting slows you down because they do a really good job of simulating the paddle shift. So that means cutting, like creating a torque curve through the rev range and then cutting torque when you shift gears.
So couple things.
Yeah.
King of the Mountain, you're coming back in something that's not open wheel. You're inside of this vehicle.
I am inside of it, yeah.
And plus look at you, all fitted and everything. Look at you. You're also a professional bike racer now. I hear you bike race up Pikes Peak.
It wasn't quite a race, it was a struggle to the top, but I made it.
So to what was it for? Like to get fit more or for practice or what were you doing?
Just cause I wanted to do it. The mountain is to be climbed and summited in any way, shape or form. And
so
that day was...
Robin thought it would be a good idea to go from the bottom.
Yeah.
So no, park
From
at the top, go to the bottom, then go back to the top in one day.
Yeah.
And did it take all day?
It took all day, yeah. It was hard.
Well, let's talk about these because, okay, these are the extreme versions of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, right? That one is more the street car that Ron is driving, and I'll talk to Ron about it.
Yep.
But I wanted to talk to you about this because I understand that you have a hand in developing these vehicles for this hill climb, for Pikes Peak, and for them to get to this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was a big reason why I came onto this program. Brian approached me back in December saying that, Korea wanted to go and enter...
And Brian from Brian Herta.
Brian Herta.
Right? So Brian Herta,
the legend, IndyCar.
Plus
Le Mans, he's done...
Rallycross.
He's got a TCR team now with Hyundai. So he does everything, and I mean, working with Brian's been an absolute honor and a privilege, and another reason why I came to the program.
So he reached out to King of the Mountain.
That's right.
And he asked you to help develop this program into what it is now. And then this is your car. This is number 49.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did it start? Did you get eyes on the stock vehicle? Like, how did it start?
Yeah, basically, I was told, so originally we were only supposed to be doing 2 production cars, and then they asked me about that, and I said, I love the car, I love the M brand, but I do a little more than just production cars with my program, so happy to help out consult on that. And they, by coincidence at the same time, Hyundai Korea had this En1 Cup Car, which is their Spec series electric racer, and they wanted, that was going to be ready about the time of this event, and so they wanted to do a version of that to run at Pikes Peak. And there was scope to go and do modifications to that car to make it the Pikes Peak monster that we've created.
This is the most extreme version of that car.
Exactly, yeah. So that's like a step above. So we're calling this one the Time Attack version of that. It's the Ioniq 5N Time Attack.
This wing is so cool. Because I did the release photos for this.
Yep.
Which was such an honor. It was super cool to see these on the mountain for the first time. Mm-hmm. But right away, the vibes you get, when I posted these photos, everybody's like, oh, it reminds me of the Suzuki.
The Escudo. Yeah.
Because of the stance, just the way it looks, the way the arrow is, and just the way that wing is so huge, it's like a bunk bed, or bigger.
Exactly.
I mean, you could sleep on this wing.
When coming up with this car, I had some iconic Pikes Peak vehicles as like a inspiration of what we should do with this, knowing that it was an exhibition car, knowing that it's, it was a build in a very limited amount of time. There's only so much we could do. So how to make it not only perform as well as it can, but also be visually spectacular. So I put a lot of time and effort into that, like looked back at, say, the Audi Quattro, the 405, the Escudo as well, to create something that had a similar feel to that, like the modern day Group B. When I first drove the production car, that was my first takeaway from it. This is like a modern day Group B rally car, and that just is synonymous with Pikes Peak for me.
I love that. How did the vehicle look, or what was it like when you first got it? Was it already widened?
Yes.
What is the deal with this? So what did this look like? Just a factory race car?
So this car actually started off as a production-based i5N, and we built that out with Cup Car parts. So really, this is a Brian Herter Autosport build from the get-go, and then we got our hands on some of those Cup Car parts. What's most distinctive on the Cup Car parts is the white body. So the white body kit is that En1 Cup Car, and you can kind of see here, right? This is their splitter. Mm-hmm. This is our splitter. So we you're a dog, you have
cute,
splitters.
Right?
So we put a splitter on your splitter.
I mean, it is so big.
Yeah.
It is. Everything is just massive in terms of proportion on this.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to go over anything with this. You're gonna scrape the smallest little pebble. Yeah. First of all, this moves volumes of air.
Yeah.
It is moving so much air that you could see it in time-space as it's going.
Just pushing that all the way.
Yes, because it's pushing all the dust everywhere. It's crazy.
So what I say to people with this is actually the same amount of power and the same amount of downforce as the Wolf. It's just 3 times the weight. That's the difference. That's the big difference between the two. But the downforce numbers on it are pretty impressive. We worked with Veris actually on the aero kit, so I kind of architected it, and then with that concept went over to them to go and come up with the detailing on the parts, and where the balance is, where the wings sit, how big they are, and all that.
Veris in Japan?
No, Veris Engineering is actually out in Indy.
Okay, Veris.
It's American, yeah.
Oh, okay, not Veris Japan.
Yeah.
All right, so worked with Veris in Indy, because they normally do what, IndyCar stuff?
No, so they're doing a lot of, it's like time attack builds, time attack parts. So this is, the spirit and the heart of this is time attack. It's not a factory built race car. This is, we took a production car and put all these bits on it, essentially.
This is new. When I shot testing, this wasn't here.
This wasn't here, so another cool thing we continue to develop, and this was Veris's idea. We needed a little more front end, so extra bits is a front wheel vent, so this allows a load of high pressure in the top of this arch to exit, and then we had this dive plane as well is new.
It looks so wild. Again? I'm sorry if you guys hear Rob Dom's rotary in the back, but we have to finish this video because these guys have to go through tech and they have to go testing more. I wanted to ask you guys what this is, because I noticed this when I was shooting the vehicle. The 2 race cars have this little thing here. Yeah. What is that?
So back to 70s and 80s Formula One, these are sliding skirts. So these are here. Once we put in a bit of downforce on the car and the car's squatting down, these will essentially contact the ground and then seal it to there. So this brings us another little chunk of downforce.
And that's something that you can only do in unlimited class.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just something that's touching the ground the whole way up.
Yeah. So you can see these are wear parts, right? This is where they've scraped and rubbed, and they size themselves to the right amount.
How often do you have to change them then?
About every week on these, yeah. The Wolf, we ran these same parts on the Wolf. So a few of these things and ideas that we learned on the Wolf has come over to this car.
That's why they reached out to the King of the Mountain.
That's it.
That's why.
Yeah. So not only that, we have Tim Ritteridge, my race engineer, on the Wolf. He is over and is now my race engineer for this car, and he's helped me develop all these parts. There he is.
Okay. So then that's different from their TC car?
So this is the En1. This is their side sill, and then we've added to it with that skirt.
Got it. And then their rear wing is way smaller.
It's way smaller. So we've taken their stock mounting points and created our own brackets.
This is crazy. This is so beefy. I cannot believe you guys have these 2 uprights here.
Yeah, this takes a lot of load. This is a big wing. This is the same wing that's on the Hyundai.
How much downforce do you think that produces?
Off the top of my head, I should know. We're talking
Ballpark.
like half a ton.
Half a ton, just from this rear wheel.
Yeah. The top speed is about half a ton, I think. Yeah.
Huh.
I can't remember that. The car makes at 200 kilometers an hour, which is 124 mile an hour. It's about 1,700 kilos downforce, I believe. Yeah.
So then, what else? Is there anything else that you had a hand in developing on the outside of the vehicle?
On the outside, so the other thing is we've got like a pseudo flat floor. We have like the original bodywork underneath. There's just a flat metal sheet there, and we've just closed in all the OEM openings under there just to try and get it smooth as possible. And that makes a big difference. And again, it's not like the most high tech, but it works really, really well.
It's got to be easier it being EV though, right? To make it a flat floor.
In the middle, yes, but also no at the back. So with the motors as low as they are in the back, it's really hard to get a diffuser in there. So that motor spreads over the full width, so we could only kick the diffuser after that. So you kick in the diffuser after the rear axle. Whereas on like the Wolf, the diffuser starts just behind the back of the tub, just behind the driver essentially. So that's something which we couldn't do. But what's unique about this car, something I learned, because it punches such a big hole in the air with its shape, actually like that acts like a giant gurney flap to the diffuser, and it doesn't make much difference us having, we imagined, if we could move the motor, how much more downforce would we get with that diffuser? And it didn't make anywhere near as much of a difference as I thought it would. So just the simple bulk of the car, moving the air out the way, does a lot to engage the floor. Surprising.
Can we take a look under the hood here?
Yeah.
This is the wildest looking. This is so wild looking.
So we got, you can see some treats of some other parts on the car now. Penske three-way shocks, that's another thing me and Tim did. This car comes with a two-way shock that was designed for circuit racing, and we knew we needed a lot more controllability and adjustability for the mounting because the bumps are so bad and the conditions change so much. So we went to that, which is it's been a fantastic addition.
So what's under here? What is that?
This is the speaker and sound generator to make the race car noises. And you
That's
can see
what's under here.
That's what's under here. And then also this is our augmented, so we added extra speakers. So like the splitter, where we added a splitter to a splitter, the sound system, we've added more speakers and an amp to the original sound system to augment it.
The original race cars already had speakers too?
Yep, so they had the stock system in it that was then kind of turned up to 11.
Right, and then for you,
we needed more sound.
To scare away the animals
and spectators.
Let spectators know, and people like myself know that you're coming.
Exactly.
You had to make it as loud as possible.
Yeah. And I guess you're a really good judge of how loud it is and what you think it sounds like.
It does sound pretty cool, honestly.
It's all right, isn't it?
It sounds great.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is these are only facing forward.
Yes.
So we don't really get like a crazy
exhaust
Doppler effect.
You're right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
From the exhaust of you passing by us.
Yeah.
We just hear you, and then we don't really hear you going away from us.
It's like all induction, no exhaust, right?
So then, beneath that, what is that?
So that's a front drive unit. So that's motor inverter gearbox. So this car is all-wheel drive, and it has two motors, one front, one rear. And this is the stock production drive unit, front and rear. They're both.
It's not tweaked at all from the stock.
So the rear's had some beat-back boops to it. So they've upped the power and torque on that motor. So we're up to, I think, the stock is 640-ish, and we're now up to almost 680. So it's been a nice, healthy bump, and you do feel the difference, especially on the race car.
And then the battery is the stock battery.
Absolutely stock, yeah. And that's for me coming into this project, thinking production EV, everything's going to overheat, which is going to be energy managing all the way to the top, because that's what all production EVs do. The Tesla does it. The Faraday I ran previously, that was a huge issue. Whereas this, it'll literally do 2 runs in a row up the mountain and not have an issue.
Really?
Yeah.
So then what about the second run? Is it slower because it's lower power?
So we are able to, so the charging setup we got is really trick, and we've been able to recharge the car pretty much to 90% in that half an hour. So we, bring it down. I, swap cars if I wanted to do consecutive runs, but if you had half an hour spare, you would just charge it up and go again.
Up to 90%.
Yeah.
So then for race day, is it going to be at 100%?
I think we go to 100%. And the 100% on the car isn't truly 100%, I believe, because you need to be able to take a bit of regen.
Got it. Because the first corner, as soon as you go into the first corner,
that regen does a lot on this. The regen on this is powerful. It's like 40% of the braking force. So
then, are there a lot of corners? Damn it, Rob! Rob, damn! Damn you! So stock door handles and everything?
Stock door handles, yeah.
Stock doors too.
Stock doors.
Just with the guts cut out.
Yeah, no more guts. And then this is our own custom-built 6-point cage with the beefier tubes. The En1 Cup Car's cage is a smaller specification of tube.
This is Pikes Peak.
This is Pikes Peak.
Craziest cage you can possibly get.
But you can get the feel. I mean, this is the stock steering wheel. It's got all the stock instrument cluster. We've added a Motec to it.
So what is the Motec for?
Motec's for race car stuff. So that's a proper data logger that records all the vehicle input, speed, braking force. We've got on there, you can see we've got brake temps, which is important. So I know how hot the rotors are. Brakes are something that's cool to talk about.
Is that all extra sensors, or
yes,
is that sensors?
All extra. So this is everything that's going to the Motec is extra sensors. We also take info off of the car's can, so I'm able to get basically battery temperatures, and we get a little more information on the battery temperatures. We get a minimum and a maximum, which is important because the cooling's so good on this, we can actually overcool the battery. The battery's like Goldilocks' porridge. It can't be too hot, can't be too cold. So we need to make sure the hottest battery cell isn't too hot or the coldest battery cell isn't too cold. So that's a bit of extra information there. And the other thing we have is seeing the motor temperatures and how close they are to derate. So we've been trying to play around with the cooling strategy on this car, and a lot of that is to remove cooling, which just sounds like an odd thing to do. And so there have been times when we've been driving it, we've not had enough cooling, we've gone into that derate, so we know where the limit is.
Is that because it's so cold up there?
Yeah, basically, it's so cold up there we're able to get the heat rejection. Yeah.
But then during race day, is it going to be hot?
It is, yeah.
So then you guys have to kind of figure out the difference.
Yeah, you can kind of calculate that. That's why you kind of try a couple different settings, because you see how sensitive it is. So okay, if we do this, it's too hot, this is too cold, and then we understand okay, if we're 15, 20 degrees hotter, this is what we think it'll do.
And is it one system that's cooling the motors, electronics, battery, everything? It's just one system?
Yeah. It's and it's an air-conditioned system. It's got a chiller on it, so it's actively cooling it, not just.
Whoa.
I think it's one of ours now. That's one of ours.
Yeah.
So it's cooling it more than the ambient.
Can we talk while we push it?
Absolutely. I just wanted to let you guys know.
All right.
Yep. Jump
let's
in.
go.
Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking. All right.
Just doing this live.
So let's just talk about a couple other. Look, he's gonna move it right now.
Yeah.
So then, what's cool is it's aftermarket brakes, Alcon brakes.
Yes. So that's
full-on racing brakes.
Full-on racing brakes. That's something we did custom for this car that isn't on the Cup car either. These are a full-on GT3 style caliper. We knew that we're pushing this thing as hard as it can possibly be. It's not a light car. It's 4,800 pounds of me in, and we're asking. We can now got a load of downforce on it, so it can brake over 2G. So the thing stops. So we need the best possible braking system for it.
But the thing that's helping this is the regen.
It is.
So
yes.
then, are you having to modify your driving so much compared to your Wolf in that some corners you just lift and then the regen is enough for you to slow down for the corner?
So we can do a couple different things with regen. It's neat. So the car has a brake-by-wire system. So the car actually gets to choose how it blends the mechanical friction brakes and then also the regen. So I have two settings, which is the first is an engine braking. So if I'm off throttle, but I'm not on the brakes, I can adjust that force. So I can do that, and that's great actually for mid-turn balance. If I put a bit more regen on that, I'll put the car on the nose and the car will rotate a bit better. And if it's so if the car's a bit pushy, I can kick that up a little bit and I can get the rotation. And if it's a bit oversteer, I can pull that regen out and then it will be a bit more settled.
And so this is all new stuff that you kind of have to figure out.
Yes.
Since this is a platform that is still so in development.
It is, yeah. So the En1 Cup Car only has just had its first race, and because we had to build our own cars because they were busy building theirs. We were doing it in parallel with them.
Because in essence, it's like having another variable, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like with a normal ICE race car, it's
So you
forward, shift gears, and then brake to slow down or downshift.
Honestly, not. Like that's something you do have with internal combustion, because what you can do on a throttle plate is adjust, with drive-by-wire, you can adjust how open that throttle plate is when you're off throttle. So, a lot of race cars do this where you've got a couple different, engine overrun maps to adjust the engine braking. But typically that's maybe on a rear-wheel drive car, and it's also gear dependent. Whereas this is like, we haven't got into it that much detail, but you could do it completely speed dependent, and you could alter balance front to rear and all that. Like the possibilities are endless if we had the control on it. I mean, right now it's just a production software. So we don't have that level of control, but even within that production software, we can still affect quite a big change with it.
And that's another thing I wanted to ask about, because this is an EV, and from what I can tell, these, you could pretty much turn everything off, all the nannies off, but are you really at that point? What is it really when you turn the nannies off of an electric car? What is it actually doing?
So there is there is still stuff in the background, but don't think of it as nannies at that point. Think of it as functions required for it to operate like an actual car. So electric motors can spin up so quickly if they don't have traction, it would cause issues, and you'd never have that issue with internal combustion. It's got a lot more inertia in the motors, and it has gears to stop that peak speed, whereas in this, you could spin it to top speed in like a split second. So you have things called like flare control and all that is just required for an EV drive system. This car is so out of the realm of the original production car now. If we leave any nannies on it, it'll just fall over and like be super weird to drive. I've had it a couple times. In fact, when we had to do the shooting and they wanted to record that sound and they wanted the sound of the car shifting, you had some of the nannies had to go back on, and the car was pretty much undrivable at that point because it was
like, what's going on?
Yeah. Why do we have slicks now? Why are we wider? Why do we have all these wings on?
So then, with that said, do you run some sort of traction control? Is there some sort of traction control?
No, actually. Surprisingly not, thinking about it. So the car is not really traction limited. Like the weight and the power is such where you can get it to brake traction if you're a hooligan, but if you're driving it right and you're driving it as quickly as possible, it doesn't struggle so much. Sometimes, like coming off a turn and the car's loaded up on the back, the front inside will want to light up, and sometimes if you got the wheel kind of wound in, you're on the nose mid hairpin, you go quickly to throttle, it'll snap sideways and spin up an inside tire. So an inside rear, sorry. So it's that good balance of power and weight, and I think that's a reason why the production car is so fun. Because you go and look at a Tesla, the power is completely overwhelming the chassis.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's a good balance between the two.
So then there's nothing connecting the front drive line and rear drive line, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So then, what about in between? What kind of diffs are they running front and rear?
So there's like a virtual digital diff, and we've actually turned that off in the end. We were running with that, and that can essentially vector where the torque goes, but it can only do it up to the point of how powerful the motor is, because there's no diff in the middle. When you have a locked center diff, you could put all your power to one axle, whereas this, you've only got the power of that one motor. So it's all like the light throttle stuff to affect the balance. And what we found was, again, that software was struggling with this completely different configuration of car, and in some cases actually pulling back power when we could go and use it. So what we did was we turned off that setting, so it's called N torque distribution. We turned that off, and now it's just basically on the base torque of the motors.
So then the rear does make more power than the front.
The rear makes more power, exactly.
What about the differentials, like the front diff and the rear diff?
So front diff is just an open diff, and then the rear is like an ELSD.
That's why you're spinning a tire sometimes if
on
you
the
don't
front,
have enough traction.
On the front, but on the rear, it'll lock up. And actually something I learned about driving the car, you got to be really sure you're not dragging your foot on the brake, because the ELSD will kick out. So that's something good on the hairpins. Make sure that foot's all the way off the brake and on the throttle, and then that diff will lock up.
Do you think it would make more sense to have a mechanical LSD in the back?
No, I don't think so. I think like always with motorsport, it'd be great to have a bit more command over the tuning of that, do more of a motorsport style tuning with it rather than something from production, and then you get everything you can out of it. Like active diffs are amazing. You can do so much with them. It's how like Formula 1 cars can alter their balance mid-race. You can do it like different parts of the turn you can even adjust. So it's so powerful.
So then let's talk about the tires a little bit.
Yep.
These are Yokohama, not street legal, full-on race slicks.
They are. The A005.
What was your thought about running this?
So, Yokohama, myself, have a lot of experience on the mountain now. We know what the mountain needs, and they have this fantastic product that's been tried and tested on the mountain over years. So that was always a natural choice for me in that regard. And then they also had really great sizing and compound choices. In the end, we've actually gone for a little bit bigger than the Cup Car size. The Cup Car size is a 280, 680, R18, and this is up to a 300. So you can see actually the sidewall's a little more bulged, and the car really likes that. The car really likes a soft tire. We found that with the production car as well. We weren't expecting to go to a Yokohama production car tire. It's a pretty, like, it's a, you know, like a reasonably high tread wear, all weather.
It's a daily driver.
It's a daily driver tire, so it's good in the wet and the dry. It's not all season, but it's good in the wet and the dry. Yeah. And we did back-to-backs against the Cup 2 with it, the Michelin Cup 2, which is like the benchmark for a track tire, and it was quicker.
Really?
It was quicker, and it did really well in cold conditions, you know, without heat in the tire, all that, and that's what you need on the mountain, you know. I'm sure if you're pounding and doing a 30-minute session, that Cup 2 is going to do better, but for what we're running at Pike Peak, where the mountain can be cold,
you need the traction turn one
right away. You need it to be predictable. You need to be able to hear what's going on. You need to be able to feel the breakaway, and that's what that tire did over the Cup 2 so well.
So then, is there a bigger Yokohama tire that you can run on this?
Yes, but not with the wheels and with the arch clearance. So then that becomes a bigger project still. But this is about as big as we could go with.
Is this the wheel that's from Hyundai?
Yes, this is a Cup Car wheel. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the lead time in doing a custom wheel is a while, and it costs a lot.
It just looks so good with the white wheels, though.
Yeah.
I love the livery, and I know the Hyundai guys are going to be really upset at me, but look, they're like, look, photograph the car on that side where the livery works, where the N is correct.
The right way around, yeah.
But I like it backwards.
Yeah, same.
I think it's cool backwards.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because it's become a design element of this, and it's you know, it's iconic now as a design for this car, and I think it's really cool that you can't really tell what it is. I didn't even realize it was an N until they pointed it out. So I just thought it was just a design. You know?
I mean, I think that's the mark of good branding, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's versatile like that, and it's a whole theme of a car, not just a brand mark.
What I want to know is, when you're driving this, because you're not having to shift through gears, I'm assuming that's probably one of the things when you're driving your Wolf you're thinking about, right? Like, okay, this is a third gear corner. Yeah. This is a fourth gear corner. This is flat out, this, that, and the other. What is it like driving this that has no gears at all? Like do you have like a, oh, this guy's just bouncing off the rev limiter, bro.
I hope it doesn't overheat.
So then.
Yeah, so I like it, honestly. Like, the physical effort of like taking your hands, like losing a bit of grip to shift the gears in the Wolf it's like that adds to the workload of the car and adds to thinking. Whereas this, you're just focusing on torturing the tires. And with the sound, that's helpful because you have some reference of your speed. And then once you're really getting like on it, you're looking for your marks anyway. You're not thinking about gears at that point. You're looking for your marks, your braking points, turning points, all that.
When you talk about marks, you're talking about marks on the side of the track. You're not talking about speed, right? You're like, you're not talking about like, okay, I reached this speed, now I have to brake.
Exactly. You don't want to be looking at your speedo. Like that's distracting. That doesn't tell you really what's going on. You should do it by feel at that point. And I mean, this thing, we're really at the limit of it. There isn't much time left. We were privileged enough to have a full mountain test with the car. Part of the development, you know, we've actually got some more parts on the car now. We found a lot more speed. But on that day, I did 2 runs, one after the other, and over an almost 10-minute run, I was within 7/10 run to run. So that just shows you how, like, we're already pretty close to the limit of what me and the car can do.
Do you think you'll be able to break the production car electric record?
I think so. Yeah. I'm very confident that if we have the conditions, we'll be able to go and do that.
So like a 940 something.
I think a 940 something is a pretty solid number, and I think it's in me in the car. Yeah.
Do you have to run tire warmers on this? Are you allowed to?
We do. Yeah. It's really good to do it. Partly because we get so much tire pressure build. It's like 12 psi of tire pressure build over the run. So if it was to go stone cold, that'd be even more. It'd be like 20 psi build. That's a problem in itself. And also these tires are designed to run with a bit of heat in them. So if you go and hit them hard when they're cold, they're not going to like that at all. So the tire warmers help from tire safety as well as the added performance of they're switched on from the first turn.
Can we take a look at it from here too?
Yeah.
So then, because this is an electric car, does it have that warning, or does it have like a light, like a green and red light, kind of like on a lot of electric race cars that I've shot?
Maybe. I might need Tim for that. Jonathan, do you know? Does it have like the status lights on the car if it's good to touch?
Like high voltage?
Yeah.
That's our headlights.
Ah, that's our headlights.
Our headlights are on all the time, so if we lose high volt, headlights are off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if they walk up, headlights are on, and it's in bad shape, don't touch it.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So then you don't touch it.
I don't touch it.
Even if you're in it.
Yeah, I guess I jump out.
Yeah, just jump out.
Don't touch the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the driver.
Well, look how empty it is in the rear. Oh, you can see the structure of the wing.
Yes.
And it's like tied to the ceiling here.
That's it, yeah. It's tied into the body. You can't put that load of the wing through the hatch.
Oh.
So that's locked in. We got brackets and all that.
That is really neat.
Yeah.
What's up with that panel?
So that's just to keep your feet located, and like say in an accident or something like that, stops your feet going everywhere. So
Is there an airspeed meter on top or something?
Yeah. We got.
Why is that? What's the point of that? Why would you have that?
So this helps us understand our aero kit well. So we have shock position sensors. We know for what load where the suspension will be, and so we know essentially the downforce that's being made. But we need to know what the airspeed is over the car so we can correlate that for the aerodynamic coefficients, basically. So we're knowing what is the performance of the aero on this car, and if we're improving it or making it worse. I think when you're doing aero tuning, so many times people are doing it anecdotally rather than just with data.
This is so cool what Hyundai is doing, man.
It is, isn't it?
Are you happy to be a part of this? You must be. You must be happy as a clam.
I am a big happy clam. Yeah, it's a dream. It's an absolute dream. Working with a team so good as Brian Herter, and then the Hyundai brand and this car, I absolutely love. When the Ioniq 5, just the base one came out, that's like, wow, this is a cool looking car. Really brave styling, and I know that Hyundai's committed to doing EV the right way, and that is shown in how you can go and push this thing hard, charge it and push it hard again. No other car can do that.
It's really they're really trying to be that bridge.
Yeah.
For us true car guys, right?
It is.
That are used to ICE engines.
Yeah. It's not about saving the planet for this, and I think if you look at the real world, actually EVs aren't that green. They're not that much better than everything else, and there's a lot of different ways you could be green per se. But EV itself, as a propulsion system, as a powertrain, is a lot of fun. It has its own benefits and merits, and I love that part of it. There are so many cool things about this being an EV that isn't about saving the planet. It's about enjoyment. It's about accessibility. It's about just not having turbo lag.
Right. It's about performance. I mean, this being an electric car, while it still has some challenges going up the mountain, I mean, you're getting rid of a lot of disadvantages.
You are. You really are. Charging is still a huge one. I'm not going to pretend charging's easy now. We've got a big charging rig to go and support these cars. But aside from that, you're taking a production SUV, bolting some wings onto it, and it's not far off a 911 Club Sport GT2, right? Insane.
So we're at Tech. You haven't even run up the mountain officially for Pikes Peak yet, right?
Yep.
This is the 102nd running.
That's correct. Yep.
But I'm already thinking about the future, and I know you are too.
Yes.
Right. So. it's only up from here. There's so many possibilities in terms of what you can do with manufacturer support.
Yes.
Because you've really done so much on your own with the Wolf, and it's incredible what you've been able to do with that backing.
Yeah. No, thank you for saying that, and I just think this shows, just given like a quick go at it and some like pretty tight constraints, what we can go and do. And then, like sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of ideas in my head from being on this mountain for a while. So it would be awesome if we could make some of those a reality.
Robin's committed. See, look, he even has the socks. You see how committed he is? Look at this. Official. It's official.
They're not even given to me by the factory. We went and got those.
Sock official. All right, thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a really nerdy, deep, in-depth dive. And it was similar to what we did with the Wolf.
That's it.
Which was a lot of fun. And I kind of just wanted to do the same with you because honestly, I love that about you. You drive it, you engineer it. You're there the whole way through the whole project.
I live and breathe it, and I wouldn't want it any other way.